Now, here's Dr. Larry.
Did you know? Let's go.
You've waited all week.
Every week, we continue to learn how to achieve a better back and ultimately better health.
Live in the WIKB studios, this is Dr. Larry.
Well, thank you for hitting the flex capacitor, Tim. Hello again, everybody. Okay, let's get it started. Well, as you know, every show builds on the next. Every week, we continue to learn how to achieve a better back and ultimately better health. Now, in case any of you missed it, last week we talked about tendons. It was an important week to be tuned in because we learned and defined about why tendons snap. Because let's face it, it can be quite a zap. So here it is again. Oh, snap. What was that? Did something just break or crack? It sounded like a buckshot hitting your shoulder, knee, hip, or back. But really, the sound is something more profound. Why your muscle tendons could be prone to snap. 5 times in 5 weeks, I had patients tell me just that. In one case, a retired lady was reaching for a coffee cup and oh snap, just like that, her butt muscle tore. But there's more. In another case, a retired man was getting out of his tractor and oh snap, just like that, his knee tendon tore. But there's more. In another case, a retired man was reaching, pulling something small, and oh snap, just like that, his bicep tendon tore. But there's more and 3 score more. Tendons, tears, and snap. What and why is that? 5 cases, 5 times, 5 different areas of the body in just a month. Patients tore muscles and tendons. But pourquoi? Why? Oh, snap. What was that? So I'm bringing back that topic one final time in this review because I've seen the same pattern over and over. Not one body part, not one age group, not one activity, different people, different areas, same story. One person reaches forward, snap. One person steps down out of a tractor, snap. Reach for something and pull something small, snap. Person works through a little knee soreness, snap. One person tells me, hey doc, I just reefed on it. And I already know where the story is going to go because in the UP, reefing is basically a medical history term. Reefing means you pulled harder than your body was ready for, you twisted harder than your joint was lined up for, or you yanked harder than your tendon could tolerate. You're at the end of your reach, the end of your leverage, the end of your balance, and then you added some force. That's where tendons get into trouble. Now let's make it a little simple. A tendon is not just a rope, although it's a great analogy to use. It's not just a string, but we can get the idea. It's not dead material, it's living tissue. A tendon is like a strap between the muscle and the bone. So you notice I'm focused on the tendon part. You can tear muscles, of course, but it's the tendon snap. The muscle generates and creates force. The tendon transfers the force. That's a big differentiation there. The joint has to accept that force, and the brain has to coordinate the whole thing in real, and I would say milliseconds of time. That's why the snap is not always about one body part. Bicep tear or snap is not just about the bicep. A shoulder tear, not just about the shoulder. A hammy, not just about the hammy and the knee and so on. It's the whole system. It's the position, load, speed, fatigue, age in some cases, tissue quality, and your recovery. And then that final moment where everything adds up. So the real question is not just, why did my tendon snap? It's a good question. A good, better, real question is, why did the demand exceed the capacity? It sounds like an engineering equation we're about ready to answer. That was the show. Demand versus capacity. If your tendon has enough capacity, it handles the reef. If the demand goes too high and too fast, too awkward, too far away from your body, think bowling ball analogy or think ball analogy, 5-pound ball next to your chest, hold it all day long almost, reach it out way past your body, it takes about 30 seconds, your arm is quivering. It's that kind of leverage is what we're talking about, or lack thereof. So here's a little bit of the mechanism of it. Tendons, of course, are mostly water and collagen. That's why that bone broth recipe that I gave out over the winter is a wonderful one to have. Bone broth is a wonderful thing for tendon collagen, or collagen in the tendon. The water part helps the tissue glide, compress, adapt, and behave like living tissue. The collagen part gives the tendon its strength. So collagen plays a huge role. The dry structure of a tendon is mostly collagen, and it's rope-like that gives the tendon their tensile or tension strength. So in plain English, tensile strength means the ability to resist being pulled apart. So think of a tendon like a bunch of tiny cables lined up in the same direction. When those tiny cables are organized, when they're trained, hydrated, loaded with proper collagen, they do a phenomenal job. They transfer the force from the muscle to the bone. They help you lift, they help you walk, climb up stairs, they help you grip, pull, push, throw, step, squat, stand. But when those fibers are overloaded, overused, poorly aligned, not recovered, or lack hydration and lack collagen, they start to fail. And a side piece to that was, and I can draw a lot of different little spokes to this thing too, and I just had a case come in within the last week, a lady that I know, and she tends to hurt her neck occasionally. This time she sat down, 2 weeks she sat at home trying to help herself heal the neck problem, which is fine, no problem, no issues there. Nothing worked, no medications, no amount of heat, no amount of ice, no amount of stretching. When you touched her muscle and muscle tendons, she basically almost like jerked. It was that sensitive. The interesting thing was, and what I had her do and how we fixed it, and literally, no kidding, one treatment recovered probably 50%, is I had her drink some water. And you go, Dr. Larry, I know to drink water. Water was part of the tendon equation in this case. I said, well, where are we at with the water? Because I'm feeling a pretty dry, dehydrated group of muscles and tendons here. She goes, ooh. She started thinking, I'm like, one glass a day, maybe? I'm wincing. She's like, no, not even. So I got her to commit to 3 glasses of water today. And I said, she goes, I can't do 8. I can't do 6. I go, okay, let's go 3. That was enough to soak the tendons a little bit, plus some other things we did. So water, collagen, your 2 main things for your tendon to help the snap part of it. Now, first, your tissue and your tendon, it whispers a little bit. I'm a little stiff. I'm a little sore. I'm a little achy. Some of this is okay. I'm a little tight this morning. And then the pain, a little more. When you warm up, it comes back a little harder, a little stronger later. Then you have these little things, are micro tears, and then one day the wrong movement meets the wrong tendon at the wrong time, and the micro tear becomes a macro or a rupture. And it's a bit puzzling to people because it kind of hits you from nowhere, like a lightning bolt. You're like, they're looking down at their arm, and you see this ball, this little Popeye ball there, a tendon just all raveled up. Or you feel back on your hamstring, and you feel this knot back there, and it's like purple from the back of your knee to the back of your butt. Or like a case where a chest muscle tore and ripped on a guy that was reefing something. He didn't know. His neck was hurting him, his shoulder, and I looked at it. It's like you ripped your pec muscle. Thankfully not off the bone. It's a little bit of it kind of almost sideswipes you. You're like, what just happened? You mean a tendon just detached from my body? And the answer is yes. So it's a thing that you can live with even after you snap it. But the bottom line is when you're trying to do stuff, you obviously would want to try to avoid some of the things that cause the tendon to snap. And that's what I went through. I went through all that last week. The structure, the cable, I went through the analogies. Again, this is a review, so I can't deep dive into the whole thing. The hard pulls, the step downs, jumping out of a truck, out of a tractor, all those things that tend to require fast movements and bad angles at certain times, and gardening, painting, hammering, ratcheting. There's a ton of things where people have just snapped their tendons off. And I went through all of it, gave you a full show on that. Some pointers as well, and there was more. However, if you missed the entire show and want to be more in the know, then log onto my website, drlarryradio.com. Hit the subscribe button, follow links, and listen to that show. It's been uploaded now, which you can listen to at your leisure as a podcast. And here is the final point. If you want to keep your tendons intact, just remember to separate fiction from fact. Now, beyond that, in addition to the tendon mending, yeah, see, you're right, Tim. I like to rhyme a lot. Last week, we learned a simple self-test for posture. It was another Dr. Larry cool tool. And you can call my office for a freebie reminder just in case you're in need of a retip or a tip up. That's a fishing reference, by the way. And so that was last week. Now today, we'll forget that monologue for a moment and keep remembering those mandatory communication skills all doctors must have, which are inquisitive listening and staying positive. Again, it often means the difference between sick and well. Also, it's another month of the year, so let's keep our lymph in gear. So in our tip and trick segment today, we're going to learn a simple self-test for lymph nodes. And of course, you per Tim, are calling it out right from the broadcast booth while we crank up the tunes and I hit the center stage for the demo. However, before all that, in order to have good health, you don't need a lot of wealth. So let's flex our forebrain and put some knowledge to the game, because today we're going to talk about, hit it, Pearl.
Dr. Larry brings you another segment of Did You Know?
Question. It all starts there. A question. Then an answer. Therefore, I have one question for you about the accuracy of your diagnosis. We'll do that when we get back from the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Dr. Larry Radio Show.
Dr. Larry will be back in a moment.
Your WIKB weather is brought to you by
Wooden Nickel Pub and Grill on Gibbs City Road. Opens 11 a.m. Wednesday through Monday. Closed Tuesdays. Burgers, cheese curds, sandwiches, cod baskets, appetizers, and swag. Call the Nickel. 265-5861 for takeout. Looking for expert bandsaw sales and sharpening? Call LogWiz LLC. Offering full-service sales and sharpening. Certified Woodmiser Bandsaw Sales and Sharpening Center. Sharpening all makes of bandsaws up to 3 inches wide. LogWiz is passing along discounted rates on Woodmiser bandsaws. With 57 years of combined experience, LogWiz proudly serves a wide radius across Michigan's Upper Peninsula and northern Wisconsin. From hobbyists to production sawmills, need your mill running at its best? Ask about their mill tune-ups. LogWiz, full-service bandsaw sales, sharpening, and mill support, proudly serving the UP of Michigan and northern Wisconsin and always on point. Contact John today, 906-367-1919.
Your healthcare should be about what's best for you. Yet too often, healthcare professionals focus on keeping patients within their system, including who they refer you to. I'm Dr. Jason Klein, orthopedic surgeon and physician owner at OSMS. You should be seen by who you want, and you can be. At OSMS, our focus is on providing you with the highest quality of care in a safe environment. The best part is, you usually don't need a referral for orthopedic care. Learn more at askforosms.com.
This is Jackie from Vulcan, Michigan, and you're listening to Dr. Larry Radio.
You've been waiting for it, and we've been listening. Coming back starting July 20th at 5 p.m. Enjoy the hard rock and metal genre on the Drive at 5. Right here, Monday through Friday on WIKB 99.1 FM. Sponsored by Black Dog Printing of Crystal Falls.
Break's over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Question. Welcome back. It all starts there. A question. Then an answer. Therefore, I have one question for you about the accuracy of your diagnosis. A middle-aged woman recently checked herself into my office, and she didn't walk well, in pain. She actually emailed me a question. Do you do consultations? I'm reading this to you. I'm not sure I'm a candidate for a chiropractor because I have degenerative bone disease, apparently arthritis, and they say stenosis in my back. I'm still working painfully. 3 different professionals have contradicted each other in my treatment. Lots of money and time. And later, I'm declining. I need someone to give me advice, at least on my condition, besides Mayo Clinic website. One says my degenerative bone disease may be causing my neuropathy in my feet. The other says it can't. I'm leaving on gabapentin and ibuprofen. Would you be willing to talk? If so, how much for the consultation? Thanks. So, we're human. You can hear the emotion coming out of the correspondence. She has several conditions that you are familiar with that do create tremendous pain in lots of people. However, there's also something revealing in her email as well that was to my office. 3 different professionals have contradicted each other. One says this, one says that, and she's declining. And would I be willing to talk? And I'll read you my response. Absolutely. It's right up my alley. I prefer an office visit. Basically, we could set you up as a new patient. Each consultation is $150 to $200. I can do a virtual visit if you distance is too far. But again, I prefer an in-person. I can get a lot done in an hour. And you can call the office, and I gave my office phone number. So keep in mind and notice what I said. It's right up my alley. I can get a lot done in an hour, and we can talk. My first question then to you is, are you this type of patient? Sincere but declining, conflicting diagnosis, no real clarity, then I want you to keep listening. Several weeks later, she came in for a consult, pleasant, nervous, apprehensive, broken, but hopeful. We did spend an hour in consultation, and I ordered one MRI of one body part. And FYI, keep this in mind. I got to tuck this in here. I use an independent MRI center called SmartScan in Wausau. They have a high-quality MRI machines, phenomenal radiologists, and they will bill your insurance, but if it doesn't work or you just want to eliminate the runaround and middleman, most of their scans range around $600 to $700. It's all MRIs, but it's MRIs of the brain, body, internal organs, you name it. I just evaluated a case, and the lady had a high deductible plan, to give you an example. So again, this is just a little bit of tangent, but I want to tuck this in here for you. I ordered three MRIs, pelvic, abdomen, and lower back. We got a lot of information, and now she's seeing OBGYN specialists. So a separate case. So yes, MRIs can be useful, especially in the correct body part, and things can get rolling. Now back to our case. So she came back. This is the lady that wrote the letter. I went over the results, and she broke down in tears. She broke down in tears because I answered her question. Not that I treated and fixed her problem. Not that I even said she was fixable. None of that. She got emotional because she didn't have an answer. She didn't have a correct diagnosis. Her comment to me was this: Dr. Larry, you asked me one question, and that's what you needed to figure out my diagnosis. And I responded, said, you're exactly right. I typically like to zero in on the one question that mostly fits. And I'm going to tell you what that one question was in a bit. Because this is the launch pad for where I need to help you and your diagnosis. A correct diagnosis can be a real problem. This lady's case is an example of many cases. So, my first question back to you, as you heard me ask, is your diagnosis accurate? Whatever the ailment, whatever the pain, or whatever the problem, do you have an accurate diagnosis? And if so, how do you know? If not, what can you do? I'll get to the bullets as far as that, but let's identify a little bit of a conflict here first. There's a missing bridge between the importance of a question and the need for an accurate diagnosis. And there's a conflict, and here it is. And I see it. That's why I'm telling you about this. Labeling a symptom as though it were the diagnosis. And let me explain the difference. A symptom is something the patient experiences: pain, burning, numbness, tingling, weakness, fatigue, difficulty walking. A symptom tells us that a problem does exist. It does not necessarily tell us what is causing the problem or where it's coming from. So medically, a symptom is something felt or experienced by you, the patient, that may indicate an underlying condition. And this is where things can get really confusing. Someone says, a professional, you have neuropathy. But what does that actually tell us? Neuropathy may be a legitimate diagnostic category, meaning there appears to be damage or dysfunction involving nerves, but it still may leave the most important question unanswered. Why are the nerves malfunctioning? So this, of course, is one of the diagnoses that she had that was from one professional that the other ones disagreed with. Is it coming from diabetes, nutritional deficiency, medication toxicity, autoimmune, peripheral nerve, spinal disorder, as was another diagnosis for her, The word may describe the type of problem without yet identifying its cause. And the same thing can happen with pain. Low back pain describes where it hurts only. It doesn't tell us why it hurts. Sciatica describes a pattern of symptoms traveling into the leg. It does not automatically identify what structure is producing those symptoms. Degenerative changes, arthritis, stenosis, these all may be findings seen on an image, but the clinician, the professional, still must determine, do those findings explain this patient's particular symptoms? It's not always easy. Even in some what would appear to be simple cases, and that's why a question is very important that we're going to get to. So there's a couple different levels, or three different levels, that frequently get mixed together. Is the symptom, what is the patient feeling, what are you feeling? Number two, the finding, what did the exam, the lab test, or the MRI reveal? And three, the diagnosis. So what condition best connects your history, your symptom pattern, and your examination findings and test results? That third level requires professional clinical reasoning. A diagnosis is not supposed to be merely a word placed beside a complaint. It is supposed to be a reasoned conclusion about what is producing your pain or your condition. So the diagnostic process should begin with your chief complaint, what you feel, create a reasonable possibilities, and then use the history, examination, and appropriate testing to narrow down the list. There's always going to be somewhat of a list. So why did these three professionals contradict one another? Now we can start to begin to understand why this woman believed that three different professionals had contradicted one another. One professional may have been describing her symptoms, gave it that as the diagnosis. Another one may have been describing abnormalities on her imaging, then that became the diagnosis. So that was stenosis in that case. The professional with the diagnosis of neuropathy was a symptom-based diagnosis. Another men have been giving an opinion about whether those abnormalities could produce the symptoms in her feet. They may not have all answered the same question. One was answering, what does the MRI show? Another was answering, what are we calling the burning and the numbness? And another one was answering, do I believe the spinal findings are causing it? Those are the three different questions that were attempting to be answered. And those things never got clearly explained or differentiated. One, her back is causing it. One, it can't be coming from the back. One, it's neuropathy. The other two, it's not neuropathy. Her case, I don't know what to do. So this is where the confusion can turn into a conflict in your brain. A label can end an investigation on a proper diagnosis too early, and that's the danger part of all of this. Once a symptom receives a medical sounding label, everyone may feel as though the diagnostic work is finished and then begin to treat. And that's what was happening. A cycle of treatments, injections in the spine, ibuprofen, gabapentin. Patient says, my feet are burning. Label becomes neuropathy. The treatment becomes gabapentin. See how this works? And now what you're seeing is a big circle, and we're running around in a circle. We're not really going any direction. We're just running around in a circle. So there's still some other questions too. What is causing the neuropathy? And again, we can deep dive into that. Gabapentin may help reduce some nerve-related symptoms. Ibuprofen may help reduce some inflammation. But a relief of a symptom does not by itself prove what the cause, or if the cause has been identified. Let me say that again. The relief of a symptom does not prove the cause has been identified. That's a big problem. You could be getting treated for something that is relieving symptoms and no cause established, and assume that your cause has been established and your diagnosis is inaccurate. And you go, well, at least the symptoms are getting better, Dr. Larry, and I'm fine then. But should that cause of that problem ever manifest itself, like the case we're going to talk about, or cases similar to that, and it becomes to the point where you're on a fast decline, and all of a sudden that's actually where the lack of a cause becomes a huge problem, because now everybody's scrambling to try to find the cause. I didn't have time to tuck in another case today, but there was one that I went over this last week. But I'll kind of give you just a side comment. The one professional who happened to be a cardiologist, who leaned over to the resident in front of the patient and said, I wish these elderly ladies would stop thinking that they can be like superheroes and do all that they want. Well, the problem with that is she went and got a second opinion, and he was just assuming she was declining and getting old. The reality is she had a soft clot in an artery to one of her intestines that was causing her bowels to not work, and she was on a steady decline. She wasn't just getting old. So again, cause is very important. Again, I don't have time to get into that case right now. I want to frame it around the case we're talking about. So our lady did not have a coherent explanation for why she was declining. That is why the right question matters, and that is why she brought it up in our consultation. I was not simply asking, where does it hurt? Although I asked. I was trying to determine what one single detail would help me distinguish between all of these competing possibilities. And that one question helped connect her symptoms to the correct anatomical area. Then the examination added information. Then the MRI either supported or challenged what the question was, and then we would have to rework it, but in this case, we landed right where we needed to. And then it began to become crystal of what's going on, clear. So let me ask you again, do you have a diagnosis, or do you have a symptom that someone has given a medical name to? Do you know what is causing your condition, whatever it is? Or have you simply been told what the condition feels like? Because a label may sound like an answer, but label is not always the answer. So here is those things I want floating around in your head. Whatever the ailment or pain, do you believe you have an accurate cause-effect diagnosis? And how do you know? If not, what can you do? We're going to get into what is a question and the thing I asked her when we get back from the break. Stay tuned. You're listening to the Dr. Larry Radio Show.
We'll be right back with Dr. Larry.
Here's your Iron River and surrounding area forecast. High temperatures reach up to 84 this afternoon under partly cloudy skies, winds out of the northeast around 5 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight, slight chance of thunderstorms, lows of aloft around 60. Chance of thunderstorms tomorrow, high temperatures reach up to 82. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on WIKB. Currently, it's 71 degrees.
American Legion Reno Post 21 bar is open Monday through Saturday, 3 p.m. and 1 on Sundays. Taco Tuesday, 4 to 7, and ribs 5 to 7 on the second Saturday. Fish fries on the first to third Friday. Dine in 5 to 7 or take out. Check them out on Facebook or call the Legion at 906-214-7853.
I would never recommend buying a home without having the water tested first. It's cool, it's clear, it looks clean. Oh, it tastes good. Well, what's really in it? And we just recommend that you check it out. I'm Jennifer Toivonen. I'm a co-lab director at Whitewater Associates of AMISA. Coliform bacteria, lead, arsenic, nitrates. You want to be sure that water is safe. I would recommend giving us a call. That way we can tailor the kit that we send to you for what you need. 906-822-7889. Give us a call.
Summer is here, and if you're still waiting on a dock or a boat lift, now's the time to act. At Jensen Aikens, we've got premium flow docks and boat lifts ready to help you make the most of every day on the water. Don't spend another weekend wishing your shoreline was ready. Flow's durable, easy-to-use systems are built for years of lakefront enjoyment. Inventory won't last forever, so stop by Jensen Aikens today. Summer starts now. Flow docks and boat lifts from Jensen Aikens in Conover, of course.
Breaks over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we're talking on our topic about the question. So the pretext to this discussion is our case. And I have to be completely upfront with you. Not every patient is like this. Open, sincere, compliant. I deal with other cases where the patient is broken but bitter, bitter to start with as a person, argumentative, wants to browbeat, consume a tremendous amount of time, it being very difficult. Even though the circumstances are the same, they have conflicting answers and they're declining, and they've done what they've been told to do and treated by professionals. Diagnosis is inaccurate, but they create so many barriers with their personality, it actually makes the professionals want to recoil. And I say this, in the same week as this lady was in, I had to deal with both types of personalities in another patient. Hers was sincere, barriers down, easy to deal with, got right to the problem. And the key is I and we professionals want to help out all patients. So as I read her email to you, what pours out is a sincere, broken patient that needs some help. And even though she, I would say, got the runaround, she still maintained that sincere level to her. But however, if you're the same person stuck like this, and you're one of these people where the staff comes back to the doctor and says, watch out for this one, because patients mouthing off in the waiting room, rude to the nurses, front desk staff, and making unnecessary comments, your diagnosis becomes a real challenge to figure out. So again, when I said this case, I want to talk to all people. So I don't know who's listening right now. You could be a very sincere person who wants to get help even though you haven't gotten help, and maintain that. Or you could be a real zinger, condescending, flat out difficult to be with. And as practitioners, we're forced to be in the room with both. And we have to challenge ourselves to have a meaningful talk and consultation no matter who's in front of us. But by all means, if you're the other type of person, just like someone I had to deal with in last week, very difficult. I had to remove all those barriers to try to help out this person who was in the same boat as this lady was. Don't put those barriers up. Not every professional can handle it. You want your answers? Be sincere about it. So this is for everybody. So what is a question? Let's start with the most basic definition. A question is a request for information. But I don't want to take I want to take the definition one step further. A question identifies a gap between what we know and what we still need to know. Something's missing, something doesn't make sense, something has not been explained, and the purpose of a question is to search for the information that fills that gap. Tim and I have some great talks on break. Got a 2-minute commercial break. He goes right into his field. He's like, Dr. Larry, root cause. As an engineer, that's on the machines, we have to go for root cause. We have to identify root cause. And I listened to him for the commercial break, and I'm nodding my head up and down. I'm like, exactly. The problem, though, when it comes to healthcare and medicine, root cause isn't like engineering where we're held to the same standard. And you're scratching your head right now going, what are you talking about? I thought you guys defined diagnosis. That's root cause. No, that's the essence of the show and ties into a nice conversation Tim and I are having. If the engineering standards, concepts, and principles were applied and held accountable in the same fashion, I would have a lot less material and shows to talk about. So say it a different way. In healthcare, we should think and act more like an engineer would about root cause versus just labeling a symptom. I mean, let's flip it around. Let's say an engineer went to a place to try to figure out a problem. They didn't do a root cause. They just go, let's symptom match here, and then we'll move on. We did our job, and then send out a big bill. Not going to work. Machines stop working. Production goes down. So again, the same standard should be applied across the board. And that's the essence of what I'm talking about here in the show. It's getting to the root cause of a problem. Now, with a human body, you know, there's a lot of plumbing. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of stuff going on. Again, even to the thing I just mentioned, there's also personality barriers as well, too. But there's a lot of hidden stuff in a body. We can't just go tearing apart a body and looking at stuff and go, yep, there it is. However, there's lots of different things we can do to kind of see things without seeing them. Or there's the whole other side of it is what sometimes appears to be a very complex case and a very difficult diagnosis Basically a root cause question, get right to where we need to go. And a simple test and bang, we're done, which we're going to do. So a question directs your attention, it tells you where to look. It determines what information you collect. And many times the quality of the answer depends on the quality of the question being asked. Ask the wrong question on our side of the equation, the practitioner side, the professional side, and we may receive a perfectly accurate answer to something that doesn't actually matter. Burning in the feet. Do you have burning in your feet? Yes. Okay, you have neuropathy. That establishes no root cause. All I did was basically give you something that actually doesn't matter. So asking the right question is important, and suddenly the entire problem may begin to make sense, which is why this lady began to break down and cry. So what does this mean medically? In medicine, a symptom is not an automatic diagnosis. Pain is a symptom. Numbness is a symptom. Weakness is a symptom. Difficulty walking is a symptom. And those symptoms tell us something is wrong, but they do not automatically tell us what is wrong. That requires questions or a question. Like this. Where did it begin? When did it begin? Did it happen suddenly or gradually? Is it on one or both sides? Does it travel? What makes it worse? Again, that's a bit of a long list of questions. But buried within there, sometimes just a strategic one question can get it all smoked out quickly. Which symptom came first? Every answer adds another piece to the puzzle. So in a proper diagnostic process, the patient, the complaint creates an initial list of causes. The history and exam then raise or lower the probability of each of those possibilities, and testing then should be selected to help confirm or exclude the most reasonable root causes, not simply to order everything and hope something appears. That's like a mechanic just throwing sensors. Let's say you got a cat sensor going, just throwing sensors at a problem at $200 a pop, hoping the symptom goes away with the check engine light. That's not getting root cause. So it's a practical purpose to have this in our mind as professionals to help out patients. A good question narrows the field. It helps determine whether numbness in the feet is more consistent with a problem originating in the lower back, or actually just a nerve disorder, or actually a metabolic condition, a circulation problem, or something else entirely different, which you're going to hear about. The word neuropathy, or those of the type, or stenosis may describe what you are experiencing or what is something going on in a part of your body, but it does not identify the root cause of why things are happening. I hear a lot of times, I've got stenosis, Dr. Larry. Back of my mind, what you're hearing now is, yeah, but is that the root cause? Is that what is causing it? I probably have stenosis here right now too. Is that a root cause of a problem? You probably have stenosis. Maybe you have that. Is that the root cause? Has that been established for you? So without identifying the cause, a treatment can be like a revolving door. Medication, a procedure, a referral, another opinion, another medication, another procedure. And years later, you are still asking, but what is wrong? The medical history is especially important when evaluating neurological symptoms because the pattern, the progression, and the symptoms can help localize where the problem might be coming from. So the question comes before the test. Now, mixed in all of this, there's a lot of low-level hypochondriac going on. There's that. So sometimes you get a little dizzy as a practitioner trying to figure that out. There's also what are called comorbidities. So that's a big fancy term, which means other ailments going on at the same time. So it's not about just one problem in somebody's body. You could have, simply a knee that's going south, maybe a hip that's getting, rotted out. And then you have an internal medicine organ problem going on. And in the case, like I just referenced briefly, in this case, the lady had some leg problems, but it was associated, and the root cause was in her intestines. So again, sometimes, and layer on top of that, she was a smoker, and so you have all these conflicting things going on. So you can see where it can get really challenging sometimes, and then add in a personality problem on top of it. It gets really dizzying sometimes. But We got to sort through all that. So that's why I'm focused on this question here as a laser, because it's going to help you out. If I just did this one time, maybe I might do a show on it. But if I'm doing this multiple times per day, and doing it for 20 plus years, and it's repeat, then it becomes something where it's more of a public awareness, where you've got to hear this process. I know this isn't being talked about in the office with your 20-minute visit with your doctor. I know it doesn't get that attention to it, and that's why we're doing the attention right now too. We got a few minutes to go. So the question comes before tests. An MRI is an extraordinary tool, but an MRI does not replace thinking. It produces pictures. The professional must still decide what body parts should be imaged, what condition are we looking for, and do the findings actually correspond with your symptoms? And is the abnormality on the image truly the cause of the problem, or merely something that just happens to be there? There's a lot of incidental findings that pop up on people's imaging. It doesn't mean it's root cause. So the question that I started out the show with determines the tests and also helps determine the other stuff that's going on in the imaging and what we need to look for. That's how it's supposed to work. History, exam, diagnostic testing should all work together. So in a practical medical sense, the question is actually a diagnostic tool. It's not small talk. It's not something asked simply to complete a form. The right question can separate two conditions that appear almost identical. The right question can identify which body part deserves attention. The right question can determine which examination should be performed, and the right question can determine which MRI should be ordered. And sometimes one answer can change the direction of an entire case, and that's exactly what happened with this woman. I asked her one question. Her answer told me where I needed to look. The examination supported it. The MRI documented it. And when she returned to my office, she finally understood why she had been declining. And let's go back to the beginning. What was the one question that led to the accurate diagnosis? Here it is. Where on your body did the problem that you started experiencing first begin? And she said, my feet. And I said, which foot? And she pointed to which foot. That's where I started looking. And that's where I examined, and that's where I felt a foot atypical of most feet. Hard, brick-like, and that's where I ordered an MRI of the foot. Kind of an oddball or imaging. She already had imaging, an oddball imaging of the foot. However, I said this too to her. I said, both feet are bad, but let's save some money. Let's order the one on the worst side, because if the worst side is bad, we already know the other side's going to be the same story. So we find an abnormality over on the one side, and the symptoms match, we can easily then infer that it's going on the opposite side. So when I got the results back, it looked as though she had stepped on raw nuclear waste. Her foot was destroyed. That's when I gave her the diagnosis. She mentioned to me that even when she was getting the scan, the radiologist, after they saw the first scan, came out and said they needed to put contrast dye in her to see more. It was that bad. So the curious person who's listening right now is probably thinking, didn't she go to a foot specialist? She did. Who sent her to a neurologist? Who sent her to a pain management doctor? Who then did injections in her spine for which she got no relief, but they blamed it on her spine. What she really needs is reconstructive foot surgery. Nobody discussed her feet at all these years. Nobody even examined them. And certainly no MRI of the foot. So let's go back to her email as we wrap this up, and let me read it again now that you have the answer. Here's her email. Do you do consultations? I'm not sure I'm a candidate for a chiropractor because I have degenerative bone disease, apparently arthritis, and they say stenosis in my back. I'm still working painfully. 3 different professionals have contradicted each other in my treatment. Lots of money and time later, I'm still declining. I need someone to give me advice, at least on my condition, besides Mayo Clinic website. One says my degenerative disease may be causing the neuropathy in my feet. The other says it can't. I'm living on gabapentin and ibuprofen. Would you be willing to talk? If so, how much for a consultation? Thanks. So you heard my response to her, but I send this now to all of you listening who are like this lady, living on medications, having conflicting professionals, spending lots of time and money wasted, and are in decline. My response to you is this. Absolutely. Right up my alley. I prefer an office visit. Basically, we'd set you up as a new patient. Each consultation is $150 to $200. I can do a virtual visit if your distance is too far, but again, I prefer an in-person, and I can get a lot done in an hour. Okay, upcoming announcements and our tip and trick of the week after the break. This is the Dr. Larry Radio Show.
We'll be right back with Dr. Larry.
Does your financial advisor take the time to really listen to you? Is your financial strategy personalized to you and your family? Will your financial advisor be there as your life and financial situations change? When you work with Ryan O'Grady, your Crystal Falls, Edward Jones financial advisor, he focuses on what's important to you. You'll work together and use an established process to create a personalized financial strategy, backed by the advice, tools, and resources to help you reach your goals. And you can partner long-term to help your strategy stay on track. Contact Ryan today at 906-875-3833. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Visit Desi Subs and Pizza at 321 West Adams, right on the corner of US 2 and Highway 189 at the stoplights in Iron River. Desi's is open every day at 6 a.m., serving breakfast, subs, quesadillas, pizzas, wraps, paninis, ice cream, and now a salad bar. Call Desi Subs and Pizza for takeout and delivery, 265-5050. That's 265-5050. And like us on Facebook.
You've been waiting for it, and we've been listening. Coming back starting July 20th at 5 p.m. Enjoy the hard rock and metal genre on the Drive at 5. Right here, Monday through Friday on WIKB 99.1 FM. Sponsored by Black Dog Printing of Crystal Falls.
Break's over. Time to get cracking once again with Dr. Larry.
Yeah, a couple of things before we wrap up the show and get to the weekly tip and trick. First, shoes. Don't forget about Queen City Running. If you need good shoes, walking shoes, running shoes, work shoes, or just something better for your feet, knees, hips, and back, go see them. Remember, you can put some shoes on. Won't give you root cause, but hey, who can't use a good set of shoes? $25 off if you mention that you heard this on the show, or if you're a patient of mine or just a listener. Any location. Good shoes matter. I say it all the time. The foot hits the ground first, and if the foot's not supported well, the knee, the hip, the back, even the neck can pay a little bit of a price. It's kinetic. Check out Queen City Running and get you some shoes. Don't go running for a bass off because it's already gone. I guess they broke some records. 350 people for running bass off last week. Running through the hands up. I finished. I ran my bass off, so I guess it was pretty good. Everybody came out in the hot weather and did their thing and ran. Yeah. Were you ever a runner, Tim? Were you a runner? No, not a runner. Yeah. Could never get into that myself. Whitewater Associates in Amasa. The mission is to provide top quality, competitively priced laboratory and consulting services in the fields of analytic, chemistry, environmental analysis, and ecology. They have a seasoned team of scientists, and they test your water. Whitewater Associates in Amasa. You hear them on my show. Definitely give them a call. You're buying a house, you got a well, you have internal plumbing. They'll do lake water testing as well too. Whitewater Associates have been around for a long time. They know what they're doing. Lori LaFleur, owner and manager of Tri-County Communications. She earned a master's degree in speech pathology from the University of Tennessee and a master's degree in audiology from the University of Wisconsin, Stevens Point. She's taught, but she's a clinician by heart. Lori LaFleur. Sweet as pie. Go in there. Even if you've got some wax in your ear, plug out. She's got this little scope thing that she looks inside your ear. Maybe your ear's a little plugged, and she'll show you, "Whoa, look at this," and she'll grab that little wax out for you. She'll test your hearing as well, too. She's got a cool little booth there. It's easy to get to, and nice office up front right there in Florence. Also, right next door to me, Edward Jones, Ryan O'Grady. Now, Edward Jones, they're everywhere, even right next door to me. Financial advisor. Ryan O'Grady believes it's important to invest his time to understand what you're looking for towards how to invest your money. It's also important to understand the level of risk you're comfortable accepting when investing, or no risk. And whether you're planning for retirement, saving for college, Ryan O'Grady, right next door to my office, Edward Jones. OSMS, another great bunch of folks that's been on my show for a long time. Had them on for interviews, too. Great sponsors of the show as well. And orthopedic and sports medicine specialist, in case you didn't know what that stood for. One of my go-to guys is Dr. Michael Harper. He's actually not a surgeon. He's an injection guy because, and it's kind of fun. And it was great to bring him on board. All of the docs, except for a few, but most of them are actually part owners at OSMS, which when I've been down there for meetings and talking to them, I go, so what's the deal? Why you guys now want to work for a big box hospital and get a big paycheck? And they go, hey, the deal is that we want to be part owners because we can eliminate bureaucracy and red tape, and we can fix problems when it comes to patient care, access to us, et cetera, et cetera. And if you've ever used them for any type of orthopedic surgery, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you walk in, the staff is up right there. They're standing up ready to greet you. They got all their computers up. And if you go talk to any one of the orthos there, they do hip, knee, shoulder, every type of orthopedic surgery. They have a walk-in urgent care center Monday through Friday. I've sent somebody there multiple times. I say, hey, look, a 2-hour ride. They came in for an eval. I mean, this actually needs orthopedic urgency, and take the trek down there. They'll be having an orthopedic surgeon waiting for you. They do roll out the red carpet for patients. They try, because the doctors are part owners, and they go, this is how we want to run stuff, not how a corporate boardroom runs it. We want to run it this way. That's a big difference at OSMS. It's also why I have them incorporated as part of my show. I have to have people and professionals of any sort reflect some of the core principles, even though I don't do orthopedic surgery, bone and joint stuff. I don't do water testing, but it's part of health. That's why I have these people. It's a select amount of people that mirror image kind of the ethos of what I do for my show. So don't forget OSMS. They got a bunch of locations. The Green Bay location is the one I use the most. Don't forget, check out WIKB.com. Ask Dr. Larry Link. Dr. Larry Link. You maybe got a question. You can email through them. It's freebie. Also, don't forget to my website, drlarryradio.com. You'll see a couple of tabs there. Some of my recent shows will be uploaded. There's a subscription tab there, and there's also ways to email my office and also see our hours and everything like that. That's drlarryradio.com. You can listen to old shows, etc. Tim, you've been talking for 3 hours, and then you haven't talked for an hour. Now you're ready to talk again, because it's time for the weekly tip and trick. You head up the broadcast booth. I'm heading out center stage for the demo, because today we're going to learn a simple self-test for your lymph nodes. Here we go.
All right, Dr. Larry's in the seated position, and he has his head looking up towards the ceiling, and he's got two hands rubbing his neck, right in front of his chin there.
Yeah, right around the chin, underneath the chin, right around the beard line there.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks, Tim. Good job. Play-by-play now, man. You're going to be doing sports soon, too, with Margoni, probably. All right. Check out your lymph nodes. Bob knows this is an important one. Tilt your head back a little bit. Feel around underneath your jawline. Feel down the muscles alongside of your neck there, and just kind of note your lymph nodes, what they feel. Felt one on an 89-year-old guy a couple days ago. Said, did you notice this? I said, yeah, it's a lymph node. It's a little bulky. He goes, those are supposed to be working hard for me, right? I said, yeah, sometimes they plump up, but as long as they stay soft and then they go down, then we're fine. If they stay plump and then harden up, we got some problems. So it's good. Check out your lymph nodes a little bit. We used to do that with the kids all the time. Tilt your head back when we feel your lymph nodes, a sore throat. But even just a little kind of rundown in your throat, like right now, because you could have a swollen lymph node that you didn't notice until you poked at it a little bit. They're supposed to swell and do their job. Rarely there could be some problems, but it's good just kind of get a sense of what your lymph nodes feel like. Have it evaluated. If it continues to enlarge and feels hard, rubbery, or fixed in a place, appears without an obvious infection, or I'll even throw in allergy stuff too, but infection, It remains there for more than a month, located especially under the jaw or around the collarbone. Check out your lymph nodes. They're fun to feel too sometimes. Don't push them too hard. They're sensitive. I remember I had one kid come in. He had a heavy helmet on, and he traumatized one of his lymph nodes because it was like what was it? It was a snowmobile helmet. That's what it was. The thing was too heavy for his head and like smashed his lymph node, and the thing like looked like a goiter. Of course, I sent him out, and they're like, no, it's just the lymph node grew too big because he smashed it with his helmet somehow. He's probably ripping it on his snowmobile. So, all right, man. That was it. That was the show. Question. It's a good wrap. Watch out for the smoke. Topic of the week right there. Didn't know that was coming. Had the windows open one of the nights, the night before the smoke came. Should have checked the news. Now we got them closed. Now we're going to finish the show. As soon as Tim hits this button, he's supposed to. If button's not working. You broke the button? Oh, all right, folks. Remember, you can listen to me live right here every week to learn how to achieve a better back and better health. Or if you got the button working, you're having pain or problem, I'm here to help. My number at the office is 906-875. It's all about buttons here. 3215. Have a good day, man. The board, and I'll see you next week, everybody.
The Northwoods home of classic rock and your favorite hits. 99.1 WIKV, Iron River, Crystal Falls, Florence. A listen-up radio station.